Claudette gazed skywards, her eyes weary, the light fading as she ambled towards Restaurant Vietti. The rain clouds had passed in a brief moment, leaving a spongy feel to the lightly dampened path, the wetness insufficient for the soil to stick to the well-worn boots that weighed heavily with every pace. The day had seemed endless, and the work, as always, arduous, but even more so on this, her first day. She had vowed to pace herself, not to feel that she needed to prove herself, but railway work was a man's work. She'd heard it often said enough, and she found herself doing more, working longer, demonstrating her strength to the eyes boring into her back. The sniggering had stopped soon enough, though the subsequent silence in her presence, and whenever she moved past a chattering group of men, told her all she needed to know. She wasn't welcome, didn't fit in, never would. She had skipped lunch, her stomach groaning, overhearing the men describe in great detail the sumptuous meal they had stopped to consume. They were cruel, rigid in their beliefs, and bigoted. Yes, very narrow-minded. She nodded her head, affirming her thoughts, and inhaled deeply, her pace slowing to a stop. She had hoped the war would have changed things, but it hadn't. If anything, it had made matters worse. Men reasserting themselves into a world they left behind, one that had changed in their absence, but without their approval. The pervasive scent of ferns springing to life, the musty earth, and a subtle sweet floral smell drew her from her musings. The rain did that, brought nature to life. She breathed in the fresh fragrance, gazed at the sky again. Dusk was approaching earlier these days, with the transition into autumn, but the sun still held warmth, and it would be another 2 hours before it dived behind the mountains. She removed her jacket, slung it over her shoulder, and continued to amble. Something was reassuring about the near silence inside the wooded parkland, and she wondered if her papa had walked this path before her. A smile crept into a yawn, and she rubbed her eyes. He was right. This was a beautiful part of France. She rolled her shoulders, eased the tension held in tired muscles, and wondered momentarily where the tightness had gone. She squinted into the sky expectantly, but it looked the same. Being in nature always seemed to affect her in this way, give her a cause to question the essence of life. But there was something intangible here too, soothing and calming, ethereal. A large boulder resting under the canopy of an old oak tree caught her attention, and her feet followed her eyes to the edge of a lake. The water, motionless. A black mirror settled into a bed of ferns and foliage. She dipped her boot, humoured by the ripple that danced across the surface, obscuring her reflection. Folding her jacket neatly, she pressed it against the boulder, sat and leaned her head back, her eyes closing, her mind stilling. Aware of a distant dog barking, children's laughter and birdsong. She sighed as she drifted. Settling her body against the smooth, hard surface, her lips parted slightly, and her breathing slowed. "Help! Help! Help!" Claudette jumped to her feet before her eyes opened fully, her ears locating the panicked cries, her heart pounding in her chest. An urgent groan escaped her as she squinted across the lake. A young child, a girl, grappling frantically at the side of a small boat, seemed to be struggling, unable to reach the boy's hand. The girl's head dropped under the water, resurfaced. The high-pitched screams echoed across the water. The boy leaned over the boat, reached out again, trying to find the small hand, shouting instructions. Fingers slipped through fingers, and the girl submerged, then resurfaced again.